It's What's Inside, a horror story inspired by Arab folklore, respecting Islamic values, with a chilling, escalating plot and a shocking ending. Part 1. The Gift. In a quiet Moroccan town nestled between two valleys, lived Imaine, a 29-year-old woman who had recently returned from abroad after finishing her studies. A devout Muslim and quiet soul, she had inherited her grandmother's old stone house known among villagers as Dar al-Zahra, a place with stories too dark to tell aloud. The locals warned her there are things that were locked in that house, not just by wood and metal, but by verses of protection. Imaine, skeptical but respectful, recited Ayat al-Kursi and Surat al-Baqarah daily. She kept the house simple: one floor, thick walls, an old wooden chest in the corner of her grandmother's room, sealed with 7 rusted iron locks. She never touched it, until one day, it unlocked itself. Part 2. The chest. It happened after Maghrib prayer. A strange creaking echoed from her grandmother's room. Imaine found the chest open completely. The locks lay on the floor, intact but no longer attached. Inside, there was only one item, a hand-carved wooden doll, barely 10 inches tall. It had no facial features, just a smooth surface and a red silk cloth wrapped around its body, and pinned to the cloth was a note written in old Arabic calligraphy. What gives it life is what's inside. She didn't know what it meant. That night, she placed the doll back inside and locked the room. The next morning, the doll was on her kitchen table. The note was gone. Part 3. The unseen. Imaine began hearing tapping at night. Not loud, not aggressive, just deliberate, like fingernails brushing against wood. She called her cousin Abdel Karim, a local Quran teacher. Together they performed Ruqya and played Surah al-Baqarah in the house. For a while, the sound stopped, until the dreams began. In them, she'd see the doll, but now it had a face, her face, and it would whisper verses from the Quran, but twisted. Kul huwa Allah. Gairu. Imaine would wake drenched in sweat, clutching her Quran, the real verses echoing in her head. She tried burning the doll. It didn't burn. She buried it under the old fig tree. The next day was back sitting on her prayer rug. Part 4. What's Inside. Desperate, Imaine sought the help of an old faqih who lived in the outskirts of the town, a blind man named Sheikh Rawi, who rarely spoke unless it was too worn. He held the doll in his hands and gasped. This is not a doll, daughter. It is a container, a tabia, a spirit tied by flesh, trapped by faith. Whoever placed it inside that chest sealed it with verses, not locks. Imaine asked, "Can we destroy it?" He shook his head. "No, you must not destroy it. You must find out what's inside, and who it wants." Part 5. The revelation. That night Imaine stood in front of the mirror with the doll. She placed it on the ground. Her voice trembled as she said, "If there is evil in you, I seek refuge in Allah from it. Show me what you carry." The doll twitched. Then it unraveled. The red cloth peeled back. The smooth wood cracked open down the middle, and from inside, a small lock of hair, yellowed paper, and a bloodied earring fell to the ground. Imaine froze. She recognized the earring. It belonged to her grandmother's sister, who had disappeared when they were young girls. Everyone said she'd run off with a French but Imaine now knew the truth. The doll was her. The house was the prison, and her grandmother had been the jailer. Part 6. The price. That night, the entity inside the doll came fully awake. It didn't scream. It entered her. Imaine collapsed. Her body convulsed as she gasped for breath, reciting every verse she could. But her voice kept doubling, one voice reciting, the other mocking it. She managed to crawl to the Quran. With the last of her strength, she pressed her hand on its open page and shouted, "Hasbi Allahu." A gust of wind blew through the room. The doll shattered. She awoke days later in the hospital. Epilogue. It's What's Inside. Imaine lives now in the city, far from that village. The house was demolished, but something came with her. Sometimes, when she prays, she hears another voice finishing the verse a second after her. Her reflection lags a moment too long, and in her dreams, she still hears her grandmother's voice. It's not what you see, Imaine. It's what's inside. The end.